Blood on the souls is what I need.
When Hiyoko died, Ibuki's feet were on the floor.
I am telling you to present your evidence!
Did you see her walking?
If her feet were on the floor, was there any sign she stepped on something?
I agree with that.
Repairs.
Just as Sonia said, Ibuki stepped on something. That something was blood. There were faint bloodstains on the soles of her slippers.
That is not Ibuki's blood, right? She suffered no external injuries.
That's right.
Then it's Hiyoko's blood!
That's logical.
Hyoko's only wound was a fatal slice on her neck. And she died almost instantly, right?
If Ibuki stepped on her blood...
It means Ibuki was still standing when Hiyoko was mortally wounded. Which means Ibuki was still alive at the exact moment Hiyoko was killed.
Don't underestimate the power of the evil eye!
Okay then.
Is that it? A shepherd dressed in his Sunday's finest still reeks of lamb, Hajime Hinata.
Does that mean you have a rebuttal?
Does that mean you have a rebuttal? That's a good line. But are you sure you're sure? If I show you how serious I am, this world might be destroyed, you know. You're so frightened you can't even make a sound. It seems you've realized our difference in status. However, the time for conviction starts now. You better entertain me to the fullest.
Okay then. Rope, motel room key, step ladder, smudge, surveillance monitor.
You're saying the blood on Ibuki's feet belonged to Hiyoko? Ha! Impossible! Try to remember the crime scene. There was no blood on the floor. You can't step on blood that was never there. Just about what you see in Ice Nightmare. You're saying the blood on Ibuki's feet belonged to Hiyoko? Ha! Impossible! Try to remember the crime scene. There was no blood on the floor.
Allow me to cut through those words!
Yeah, that was a bit too simple. What's the trick?
That's not it. The reason there was no blood on the floor is because the killer wiped it away afterward.
Don't say such foolish things! You don't have proof of that at all!
Yes, I do. If you look closely, there's a streak on the floor where blood was wiped away.
When the killer tried to hide Hyoko's body, they probably cleaned the blood at the same time, but... Ibuki must have already stepped in it, and the killer probably didn't even realize it.
Ibuki was probably just standing around being her
The
gullible
reason
self.
they wiped off the blood on the floor was so we'd mix up the order of the murders, right? Even if they're able to hide Hyoko's body, it'd be bad if her blood was left out in the open.
Plus, Ibuki's body was left out in the open, and it wasn't bleeding from any open wounds at all.
Hyoko's body was probably wrapped in duct tape to stop her bleeding. Actually, the bleeding will stop once the heart stops beating. So I don't think they had to go that far. Aside from Mikon, none of us were aware of that fact. So the killer probably did not know it either.
Maybe the heater was running inside the music venue so it would screw with Mikon's autopsy?
That was a random jump.
That's right! I didn't know the time of death because of the heater!
If the time of death wasn't mentioned in the Monokuma file just to keep concrete evidence from us.
Yep. Since we have all this evidence, there's no one else who wants to object, right? Then it's decided. Hiyoko was killed before Ibuki.
It appears that it is wiser to retreat for now. Fine then, but regardless of good or evil, there's no deceit in upholding one's convictions.
Can't you just shut up and back off?
Now then, let us resume our debate.
Wait a sec. There's something I want to run by Monokuma first.
Huh? Again? Didn't something like this happen last time too?
Hey, if the victim actually committed suicide, what are we supposed to do?
The same as always. You have to vote for who the killer is. Think about it. A suicide means you've killed the most important existence of all, yourself. Unfortunately, that means there's no Blacken to punish, but I guess in a pinch, I can always punish Monami.
Why me?
Poor Monami.
Nagito, what do you mean? If the victim actually committed suicide?
Well, I mean, I understand Hyoko's death, but I'm wondering if Ibuki was really murdered.
She was. Remember, she was fucking gullible as hell.
For example, it's possible Ibuki killed Hyoko, and then committed suicide due to a guilty conscience, right?
That's totally impossible! Then she never would have killed her to begin with!
She was afflicted by the despair disease, remember? That means anything can happen.
But if Ibuki's the killer, she wouldn't have been able to falsify the sequence of the murders, right? After Hajime saw the hanged body, the sudden appearance of Hyoko's body soon after means the killer had to be alive at that time.
Or had an accomplice, theoretically.
Then she was alive! When Hajime first discovered Ibuki, she was just pretending to be dead.
Is that really possible? I'm really not
If
sure.
she waited until Hajime left, that's when she could have made her move and mess with the crime scene.
I don't know how hanging works.
She hanged herself, remember? There's no fucking way she could have faked that.
And if she was going to fake her death, I think she wouldn't have chosen hanging.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to fake other deaths. What's the rope say? Oh, wrong thing.
Her body would have been defenseless in that state. If anyone touched her, that alone would have ruined her plan.
I see. So that means there's no doubt that someone killed those two. I'm glad. Now I'm free to search for the killer.
Huh.
What the heck?
There's still one more issue on my mind.
What is it?
If Ibuki didn't commit suicide, then just what was that video Hajime saw?
Let's lead us.
According to that video you saw, Ibuki was by herself when she climbed the stepladder, right?
Remember, she had the despair disease. She was gullible as hell. If she was told to hang herself, she would have hung herself.
Then does that mean someone forced her to do it?
Forced in quotes.
Forced? Perhaps they used hypnotism or something?
Something.
I don't know anything about that.
Don't say it all proud.
Putting that aside, it seems obvious that the killer did something.
Monami doesn't seem impressed.
So, maybe we should figure out who was able to do whatever that was.
I mean, I think anyone would be able to do that.
So, an alibi. Then our plan is to destroy the weakest alibi. Since Hajime has seen the video, it is clear what time the crime took place. But just to be sure, that surveillance camera doesn't have a record function, right?
It's a cheap-ass surveillance camera, you know? There's no way it'd have some kind of sweet recording feature.
Unless you put it in.
Then, the video Hajime saw was actually live?
Seems that way.
What time did Hajime see that video?
I saw it at the hospital, right before Monokuma's morning announcement. And I saw the body at the music venue a little after Monokuma's announcement.
So Ibuki hanged herself right before Monokuma's announcement.
So about 9:30.
And since we established that Hyoko was killed before Ibuki, that means the time that the murders occurred was before and during the announcement.
Then, we just have to find the person who doesn't have an alibi during that time? Now then, I shall issue my decree. Let Operation Destroy the Weakest Alibi commence!
Well, me and Makan are fine. Yuka, Sonia. Makan, surveillance monitor video.
We can exclude the sick people like me and Akane, right?
And what about the others?
Right before the morning announcement, I was totally sleeping in my motel room.
I think everyone at the motel was doing that.
So everyone who stayed at the motel doesn't have an alibi.
What about you guys?
I was where I was supposed to be, my own cottage.
That's not an alibi.
Aside from those afflicted by the disease, if nobody has an alibi, then Operation Destroy the Weakest Alibi has failed!
We have strongest alibi.
We can exclude this.
Nobody has an alibi. What's her account? She went to the hospital to check on everyone and realized that the kid disappeared.
And what about the others?
Right before the morning announcement, I was totally sleeping in my motel room.
I think everyone at the motel was doing that.
So everyone who stayed at the motel doesn't.
What about you guys?
I was where I was supposed to be, my own cottage.
That's not an alibi.
Aside from those afflicted by the disease, if nobody has an alibi, then...
No, that's wrong! Hold on. Not all of us are missing an alibi. In fact, Mikon and I both have alibis.
You two have alibis?
Yep.
Up until I saw that hanging video, Mikon and I were actually together for a while.
We even woke up together that morning.
You have to say that, McCon.
Hey, what kind of situation is that?
I accidentally fell asleep on top of Hajime.
The second time. Jackie's like, really?
Too much info.
Yeah, it's not like that. She just came to tell me Nagato's condition had improved.
And we went to the hospital together afterward, so we were together until right before the announcement.
I get it. You guys have alibis.
If that's the case, the killer must be someone else.
It's better if we think about it like that. The killer decided to falsify the murder sequence to hide the actual time of the crime anyway.
So it's inevitable that an alibi for both before and during the morning announcement would be very important.
It feels like Operation Destroy the Weakest Alibi has backed us into a corner instead.
But committing an imitation murder, is that really all it was?
Huh?
Faking the time the crime occurred by falsifying the murder sequence, hiding their alibi in the process? Was that the only reason the killer made both bodies imitate the movie?
Are you saying there was another reason?
I feel really bad for confusing you guys so much, but that's how I feel.
Huh?
I think the killer had a completely different reason for falsifying the murder sequence.
What reason? Side of trap set by one of us. Was this the first half done? Right in time.
Hiya!
Stop it!
Chance time. $30,000 is merchandising. Sweet like milk.
What a disappointment!
Okay, I think just because I haven't been streaming the last couple of days, I'm gonna continue.
mon ami. Once again, I've been put in such an unreasonable situation.
Let me just check on some stuff from the class. Make sure nothing crazy is happening. Okie doke. So let's finish up this trial. Got my drink and my bowel's empty. Such an unreasonable situation.
Seriously, he's like the king of unreasonableness. Why did it turn out like this? We were supposed to have a fun, friendly school trip, but it turned out all bloody instead. No! This definitely cannot be allowed. That's why I want you to remember this.
Remember what?
Everyone, do your very best. Don't lose to yourself. And don't forget to save frequently.
I try to. Yeah, I don't know what that's about. I think it might be...
Huh. It suddenly got quiet in here.
because you said something crazy.
Did I confuse you? If so, I wish I could die from self-loathing.
Okay, Cecil.
Man, this again.
If that's the case, it would have been just dandy if they had gone ahead and killed me too.
Not allowed.
If that happened, the imitation would have been perfect. So why didn't they do that?
Well, it's against the rules to kill 3 people in the first place.
But it wasn't at the time.
That rule is too harsh. I couldn't get killed because of that.
Poor guy.
Seriously, just shut up already! Shut up forever!
But I'm thinking about it again, and he's totally right. It feels incomplete.
The camera.
Because they didn't kill 3 people like the movie did? That's only because of Monokuma's rule.
The rule didn't exist when
It's
the killing
not just
happened.
that. Come on, try to remember the content of the movie. About the lion that got killed second.
That's the one Hyoko's body was imitating,
Yeah, it was
right?
killed with arrows.
Even though we're calling it an imitation, the lion was actually pinned by arrows, right?
It's not like we have arrows.
But Hyoko's body was suspended by common household duct tape. Maybe they just used a common substitute because it was too difficult to imitate the arrows. Well, that's probably it, but that attitude is what makes this feel incomplete.
Huh.
If falsifying the murder sequence was the killer's plan from the very beginning, they should have taken steps to properly imitate it.
But if we never realized it was a half-assed imitation, their entire plan would have been completely useless.
What are you trying to say? Are you saying the imitation wasn't planned?
Huh.
I'm saying, Hyoko's murder wasn't.
What?
That makes sense.
I understand the imitation wasn't enough, but aren't you making a bunch of assumptions?
Do we know the murder weapon for Hyoko?
It's not just the poor imitation. There are also other strange details.
Strange details? Like what?
Like, for example, why did Hyoko go to the music venue?
So, you're saying the truth behind Hyoko's murder is hidden?
I have no freaking clue what you're trying to say.
However, this is getting quite interesting. My 4 dark devas of destruction are getting riled
I'm
up.
not sure how that hamster on the right is doing that.